Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative Podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, news, pop culture, music, sports, everything really, depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PDBs. My guest is an actor, stars in a lot of films and TV shows, TV-wise. We recognize him from Pandora, The Stranger Flack, and he has a movie called Limbo coming out. We're with Vikash Bhai. Vikash, welcome to Popternative, man.
Hey, man, Pete, thank you for having me.
No problem.
It's a pleasure to be here.
No problem. I think people also don't realize kind of the preparation of these interviews, right? They click, they see the interview, they watch it. I mean, you're in the UK, I'm in Canada. They're like, what's kind of like how does it kind of go on? It's funny how they don't know the behind the scenes, how we connect and everything. It's interesting. They just see it on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the great things that one of the great things that maybe not the right word, but you know, with what's happened with the world that we're living in right now, and not being able to do these things live, which I hope we can get back to. You know, I hope that we can do live interviews at some stage. But the great thing is that it's introduced us to a way of doing these things where we can connect like with people like yourself. You know.
Absolutely. No, for sure.
Which I think is a positive thing, isn't it?
But I do have to ask, because it's funny, because I was going to ask you this in the interview, but you brought it up right now, so we're kind of changing the schedule.
Sorry. Let's jump back to your
Well, no, it's just funny, because we're doing an interview right now. We're doing a virtual interview, right? And you said the live interviews and everything, and 100% a lot of people kind of miss the interaction being kind of person to person, but you got to think also about the cost, right? Like a lot of these movie studios and public PR are kind of looking at like the money they're saved doing these Zoom junkets and everything. I'm just saying that's what I kind of pick up from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what these things cost to do a live interview and what the setup is. I mean,
but you have to show
hiring
up,
out a place,
makeup. We have to get lights for you. Like I'm just saying, there's a lot more cooks in the kitchen, right?
Yeah. Except, rather than doing this I am in the kitchen right now. This is my living room, my kitchen. So, I set up a few lights and the camera, and away we go. So, man, but we shouldn't boast about this being such a positive thing, because those people who are listening, they're going to be like, well, maybe we stick to this and we don't do the live interviews.
I know. I'm wondering what it's going to be. There's definitely going to be some things that are going to become the new normal. We're going to go back to a lot of things that we used to, but I'm interested to see. You got a lot of projects coming out. Before we kind of get into the projects, you've been in a lot of really cool shows. You have a movie called Limbo. We're going to talk about it. But before that, I did have to ask, whether someone acts, someone writes, someone performs music, you're all storytellers. When did Vikash Bhai decide that he wanted to be a storyteller?
When did I decide I wanted to be a storyteller?
Was it early on?
It was quite early on. I mean, I feel like this was one of those, when you think it's going to sound so pretentious. It was a calling, man. That's what I can say it was. It's either I just wasn't very academically good and this was the only thing I potentially could excel at, or it was, some early stage in my life I realized that I enjoy this, whether it was like playing make believe when I was a 5, 6, 7-year-old with my friend down the street, or one of my earliest memories is doing a like little school play, when I was to be year 1, so first grade, which is 5 years old or something, and just loving it. And I was a little understudy, and I got asked to jump up on stage and take over, and I did, and throughout my life, really. If we had family gatherings, I'd get my cousins together and we'd like put on some silly play about, I don't know, Power Rangers or
that story, because I asked, that's kind of like a hallmark question I ask on the show, right? Like, when did it all start, the storytelling? That happened, that is like answered so many times, like the whole, me and my family just putting on plays for everyone.
Yeah, poor family who had to put up with this stuff, right? Watching these kids do these dreary plays.
It's
But
crazy, but that's literally what you do for a living, right? Like you play pretend for a living. Like if someone asks you, if someone young who you don't want to kind of get into basically what exactly acting is, says like, "What do you do, Vikash?" You're like, "I play pretend for a living." That's literally what it is.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I get to pretend to be somebody else for a living and get paid to do it as well. I mean, we're very lucky, man. Like it's 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 a very privileged position to be in, to be able to
Yeah.
work as a storyteller, man. It's amazing. I love it.
Absolutely. So I just want to say Limbo, you got to film Limbo. Talk a little bit about that kind of experience. What can we expect from it? What were some learning experiences on this film as well? Because whether you worked on a movie for a certain amount of time, there's always going to be learning experiences, right?
100%, 100%. Yeah. I mean, one of the things I learned from doing Limbo, because we were on a remote island, which is, where the film is set.
Mm-hmm.
These characters are seeking asylum on a remote Scottish island, and us as actors and crew and cast and everybody, we were all on a remote island, and it's the first time I'd been away from home for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. I don't know if you've like had to work away for a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It could be tough in the
it's
beginning for sure.
it can be tough,
It's
right? Yeah,
adjustments.
exactly. Those creature comforts, the things you're used to, the people you're used to. But I did all right. I think I did fairly well. I was surprised how well I was able to do, because I think I'm a bit of I like home. I like
Well, how long
comforts.
was the process of this film?
It's really not that long, It's only 5 weeks.
You're,
You know,
you're,
I'm going on like this for 6, 7 months, maybe up
because like
to
I'm
a year. But
intrigued.
no,
I'm like, how long was the shoot?
no. See what I mean? But this is what I'm saying, man. Like
Yeah.
I haven't been away from home working for more than maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So 5 weeks was a real push, and then doing Pandora after that, which was a lot longer,
Great.
10 weeks.
I love that show. Great stuff.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you, man. So yeah, but I mean, Limbo it was an amazing experience. It's the first time I'd done a feature, and working with Ben Shark, our director, who's an amazing director and a real actor's director. And his style's very different as well. So you're working very close to the lens and inside the box, which I'd never done before. And learning to, and I learned a lot watching Amir Al Masri, our amazing lead. I mean, his performance is so understated, man. And like I'd watch him do his thing and be like, I could really afford to tone it right down, because, like he can do so much by doing so little. And those kind of things, when you're watching amazing people work, you pick up these things.
Before we go into other things, can you just kind of tell us a little bit more about kind of the movie, your character, and in terms of the availability of when people are going to be able to see it and everything?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Limbo is about a group of asylum seekers who find themselves, not find themselves, they are on this remote Scottish island. They're waiting the results of their asylum decision on their asylum application. And we follow the story of Omar. Omar, who is I guess he's like a oud, which is like a guitar type instrument. For those who don't know what an oud is, and he's like an oud virtuoso, really. And we follow his story of I guess, to me, it's like he's looking for belonging, and the character that I play is a young Afghan man from Afghanistan called Farhad, who lives in a house with Omar and two other young men. And he befriends Omar, and he tries to encourage him to take up playing his instrument again. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's really good. And what because the film is going to be released in February, I believe, right?
So it was. I think the dates have been pushed back a number of times just because of what's happening with the current situation. The last I'd heard was that we were due for release on April the 9th. But I think just yesterday, and I'll have to check this, but I think it might now have been pushed to May the 9th. But I'd have to double check. So it's either April 9th or May the 9th.
I mean, what it's in it. What is that? But so what's that like then? You make a movie, even in non-COVID kind of situations, because that always happens, right? You shoot a show and you're waiting for it to kind of be released, right? What's that kind of calm before the storm like, basically, for an actor? Like, in your experiences, do you kind of just forget about it because you're working on other things? If you have a lot of work, like, what is that? What's that kind of like 2-3 month window like?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you said, man. You do forget about it, especially with the length of time we were waiting for this to happen. Because, and when you've worked on a project, and if you're lucky enough to be able to go on to working on other things, they take up your brain space, and you almost do forget about that project, but not completely, because you've got a bit of an eye on. Where is it? What's going on? You're waiting to hear about it. And then it's like this whole other excitement, rebuilding back up, watching the wave of the first reactions, and seeing it come out, and being able to see what everybody's done to put the thing together and see what it looks like.
I mean, you've had an opportunity to be on some really cool shows. I mean, we're arguably in kind of like the golden age of television right now, man. Like, there's some unreal shows. And you've been in The Stranger, you've been in Pandora, you've of course been in an episode of Flack. I mean, it's wild to see what you've kind of been working on. What do you think about kind of TV right now? The golden age of television, they're saying.
Oh, dude, we're living in an absolute golden age of television right now. And I think a lot of these streaming companies have, like Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and excuse me if I've not named them, but all of the various other different that are doing this have really opened up the world of television, and like it's just brought it to a whole other level. The writing's gotten better, the production quality is a lot better, the range of actors and the different faces that we get to see has increased, and also that means that that there's now a greater push for diversity, where people who we might not have seen on screen before are starting to get seen, because it doesn't feel like we're all vying for the same job or just a few opportunities that are there. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. The problem is, it feels like now, do we have enough hours in the day to watch all of the amazing content that there is? Because there is just such amazing content out there right now.
Absolutely. You mentioned it. You were on Pandora, which is on the CW. I mean, love that show. You know what I mean? What was kind of your experience with that show? Like, what was that all like? Because that is just such a cool TV show.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never done sci-fi before, and even talking about diversity.
It's funny. Sorry, I just want to say, because you said you never did the sci-fi before. That happens a lot more. Like, people never worked in sci-fi, then they worked in sci-fi. That's a thing that is more common than you would think.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I've talked to people that are on shows like The Expanse on Amazon and everything, and they say, like, I've liked it, but I never had a chance to work on it in my, like, 8 years of acting. Like, I haven't had a chance. Like, it happens. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but it happens. For sure.
I mean, growing up watching sci-fi films and being a big fan of a lot of the sci-fi stuff that was out there, and even as I'm into my adult life, I was always keen to do something that was kind of sci-fi related. And when Pandora came along, I kind of thought, it'd be really great if I did get cast in this, but I don't know if I would, because I don't know if I'm the right age or whatever. And then when I did, I thought, this is amazing, man. We're so used to just go or not having as many opportunities to be seen for roles like this, and so the fact that they were doing that in itself, as the CW guys creating these opportunities to provide the opportunity for people like myself, people of color like myself, to be on screen and play these characters. And he's I had so much fun playing him and working with the cast over there in Bulgaria. It's a lot of fun, man.
Absolutely. Well, I'm hoping you weren't in Bulgaria for like 4 or 5 months, because I don't know.
Well, not actually. As it turns out, the first time round, I wasn't in Bulgaria for that long. But this time round, when we did the second season, I mean, we were. I think most of us were out there for 10 weeks, for the whole 10 weeks.
Because I know, I was just saying, because the whole thing 5 weeks, so you did like being away for a long time. I'm just thinking like Bulgaria is far away. So that's what I was saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's really stretching my ability to stay away from home. I mean, I don't want my wife to get too used to that.
And you're in like the London area, like you're from London, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
I just wanted to know, because here and there, in terms of like, what is the scene in terms of productions of stuff in London? Like obviously it's different now with pandemic, but like, are you seeing it kind of grow specifically in London? Like, what's that like? In terms of film and
do you
TV.
mean like film and TV?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
There's loads of stuff going on in London,
absolutely.
man.
But it's grown, I hear. Like
been.
every year it grows.
It does get, yeah. I mean, there's a lot more stuff being produced now, and I think the gatekeepers are kind of changing too. It's not just, as I said, we don't just have the kind of bog standard channels that do provide all create most of the content. There are new channels and
so many.
This like Netflix and people like that coming in and producing stuff over here in the UK, and with so many films also being produced in the UK, there's work always going on.
Absolutely. No, it's interesting, but because like I've definitely seen because here's the thing, right? Like I'm a big fan of Ted Lasso on Apple TV. Yeah, on Apple TV. It's basically, it is a great show if you haven't had a chance to see it. It's with Jason Sudeikis, but it's basically, and there's a lot of British actors and actresses in it, because it's Ted Lasso was a college coach for a American football team, and he goes to become a coach in the Premier League for football.
Okay.
And talking to them, because there's a lot of really cool. I mean, Top Boy. Did Top Boy shoot in London? Remember Top Boy?
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
I know that was in the UK, but I wasn't sure if that was like in London. But I love that show.
Yeah, I think it's based. I think it's set in East London.
It's set.
It's been a while since I've seen.
There's a lot of shows and movies. Man, there's some shows in Toronto. I'm in Canada. There's a lot of like Toronto, Canada shows that are set in New York. Okay?
So, and vice versa, right? Places that are set in like New York that are filmed in Canada too.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that most of that was filmed in London. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I think the chaps that produced that produced Top Boy are from London themselves, so I imagine they would have known the areas to do that in.
It's a wicked show. I loved it.
It's a great show, isn't it? Yeah,
it's really good.
Those guys groundbreaking.
Amazing. Vikash, thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Dude, thank you for having me. Really lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, so people can kind of look up for your projects. They'll catch Limbo when it is out. And where can people follow you on social media to keep update with everything?
On Twitter, I'm at Vikash_Bhai, spelled BHAI. And on Instagram, I think it's, it shows how much I use Instagram too, at Vikash Bhai, and then I think it's 076. It could be. If you just type in Vikash Bhai and anybody that looks vaguely similar to this, then you'll be able to see it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time and all the best of your projects, man.
Pleasure, man. Thank you very much.
Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. You can also listen wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We are there as well, Popternative.com, where you'll find all of your kind of pop culture, news, lifestyle, sports content as well. Until next time, this is Vikash Bhai and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.